cassettes out, and imagine this
That's
was
hilarious.
a case like this one. Would it be acceptable? No, because the cassette itself isn't clear. So that isn't acceptable for that reason. If this was in a clear case, would it be acceptable? Well, nearly. I don't know if that would be allowed. You can see what's in there. However, there's another problem. This one is held together by screws. You're not allowed cassettes that are held by screws. You've got to have it sonically welded, I think they call it, when it's basically stuck together. So, ironically, that one would have been okay if you could have seen through it. That one isn't because of the screws. This is the only one that is acceptable. This is Kanye West Yeezus. Because he never even opened this cassette up. But, yeah, no screws in there. And a completely clear case and clear cassette. And that is why this cassette looks like this. It's not a coincidence. This was designed to be allowed inside prisons. Now, some were sold outside as limited edition collectibles. But this whole packaging design, this is purposefully made like this so that you could have it inside a prison. Why would that be a market worth attacking? Well, this was made in 2013. Unfortunately, the last year I've got sales stats for pre-recorded cassettes in the US for. Prior to that is 2008, because I think the RIAA just stopped counting after that point. It wasn't worth bothering, because in 2008 they only sold 100,000 pre-recorded cassettes across the whole of the US. Now, bear in mind, I mentioned before there were 2 million prisoners in the system potentially who would only be allowed to buy pre-recorded music on cassette. Well, that's a market that's perhaps more worth trying to appeal to than the market on the outside. But okay, so you've got your cassette, you're in prison. Well, hopefully not. This cassette has got into prison, and what kind of cassette player would you be allowed to play it on? Because you're not allowed to play it on just any old cassette player. Of course, there are regulations governing those as well. So let's have a look at the cassette players that you could potentially be listening to this on in 2013. Okay, here's my portable cassette player. It runs off batteries. It's got a built-in speaker and a headphone output, but it's definitely not the kind of thing you'd have found in a prison cell. First off, this would have cost way too much. Prisoners are only allowed to spend a certain amount each month, and the money has to pay for a lot of other things, so the cost runs out. Then again, it would also have to be one of the privileged devices. This would have made it on there. It's far too much of a target. You don't want any kind of prestige objects inside prison, things for other inmates to cover to fight over. In addition, it's got a metal case that really has quite some weight to it, so if you rub hands, it could do some damage. So here's a list of requirements. Your tape player needs to be cheap, unimpressive, and ineffective as a weapon. So this is more like the kind of device you'd have. Cheap, plastic, not very desirable. But there's just another problem with this one still. It's got a case that you can't see inside, just like the cassettes. You don't want to have devices that you can hide contraband in. So you need transparent electronics as well. And that's where something like this comes in. This is a player you'd be allowed to use.
I knew it.
In your prison cell.
Gucci.
Now, it seems like other prisons have moved on from cassettes. There were a number of websites that used to put custom cassettes together for you and send them off to inmates. All those links that I've looked at now seem to be dead, although some of them only as recently as, say, 2019. So it seems like things have moved on. But we are now feeling the effects of what was keeping cassette players alive for that decade or so, when the outside world wasn't really interested in it.
Okay.
Wasn't really other people buying them outside. Because if you now go and say outfits, which is where this came from, you'll see a range of clear cassette players. There's a CD player on there as well as a few other things. But the reason they're clear isn't because it's an interesting, fun novelty. It's not something that other outfits have got in touch with an electronics company. So we make something clear, that would be cool. No, what's happened is they've thought, people are messing around with cassettes, bestseller cassette player. What cassette players are out there? They've had a look around. Hey, does anyone make cassette players? This company goes, yeah, we do. We make them for the prison system. They go, right, we'll have some of yours then. And, of course, they're clear. So that's how come you're now getting clear electronics in the store. But one thing to say about these is they are absolutely terrible. The person that expected. But yeah, this was bought from Urban Outfitters, and it is absolute garbage. But again, that tells a little bit about the history. You see, the equipment that you could buy in prisons was the stuff that wasn't prestigious, wasn't expensive, but that's what they were allowed to have. And therefore, for that period, it was the rubbish equipment that was kept alive. The decent stuff disappeared. So now if you go around looking for a decent cassette player, other than a couple of kind of Kickstarter things where people are trying to reinvent them, the stuff you can actually buy at the moment is the real bottom of the barrel, horrible plastic garbage, and quite often clear as well. But this one, believe it or not, is still a step up over what you could have in prison. Because, well, the ones in prison were hobbled in a very specific way. And to explain what that's about, I'm going to have to show you some tech that actually came from a prison and not from a store. So I managed to find a few bits of prison tech that's actually served time inside. I've got one here. So let's start off by having a look at this and I'll explain what I mean. This is a prison radio. There are a few giveaway signs that it's actually been inside a prison. I've also got a clear case, but you can buy stuff like that elsewhere. On the back here, though, on the battery compartment door, we've got a prisoner's name and number etched into there. Also, this is the aerial, little stubby aerial replacing the normal telescopic one that would be the model that was sold outside. There's also an external antenna input. A lot of prison cells, I believe, have aerial sockets so you can get a signal, because of course that's not going to do much. And I don't think prison walls are very good for radio transmissions being received inside. But there's one big giveaway with this device. Let me turn it all the way up and we'll blast out some loud tunes and really annoy those guards outside. That's it. That's as loud as it gets. And it's not faulty, it's been spec'd up like that for that very reason. You don't want a load of people turning the radios all the way up and annoying each other, perhaps cellmates or the guards. So yeah, it goes just about loud enough so if you put your ear next to the speaker, you can hear what's on it. But really, I think most people would be using the earphone socket. In fact, radios in prisons were, and probably are still, a big deal. The New Yorker in 2014 ran an article entitled "The iPod of Prison." It was referring to a radio, the Sony SRF-39FP. Apparently this one was the inmate's favourite because it would provide 40 hours of playback from one AA battery, which is important when you've got limited funds. And crucially, they also had great reception, even in difficult conditions. The article went on to talk about how Sony though were phasing out that model of radio in favour of a newer one with a digital tuner. But despite being more modern, that new radio was proving less popular with inmates as it used two AAA batteries. Now, that digital radio was this one. I don't think these are made anymore, but this is the Sony SRF M35FP. It was available outside prison as the SRF M35. The FP stands for Federal Prison. Of course, we've also got the regulation transparent case. Etched along the bottom of this is a prisoner number as well. So this one has served its time, so it tells the time on the top there. It's got presets on it. It's actually a really nice little radio, this one. Of course, there's no speaker on it, so you'd have to plug your headphones into there. And I think it would have come with transparent earbuds. However, apparently the COS CL20s were the headphones of choice. Now, after getting the clear radios, I thought, well, I should get myself some clear headphones to go with them. Now, of course, all this stuff I've got to get from the US, so I'm on it on eBay. And I saw some headphones on there. I thought, well, those do $15 seems a little bit much, but I thought, well, it's just a prop for a video. So here they are. Horrible headphones. Don't really fit my head. They sort of for narrower heads. I've got a massive head, but still very uncomfortable. But yeah, so I've got the clear headphones, $15. I thought, well, not with much. Then I realised when they arrived why they were $15, because I ended up buying 10 of them by mistake. So I got 10 pairs of horrible clear headphones here. But all the things I've been showing you so far, that's not the main event. In fact, the real reason I started making this video is because of the thing I'm going to show you next. This is a piece of tech that came out of prison. And again, I got imported from the US, but I just had to have this because I really liked the way it looked. Let me show you. This is an institutional television, and as you can see, it's a CRT. So if I get my glamorous assistant to spin it around on the lazy Susan. I'm sure you'll understand what it was that attracted me to this one. I think it would look really interesting at, say, a retro games event if you were to team this up with a games console that was also in a transparent case. Just one slight fly in the ointment, though. The only input on the back of this is for RF. Although I'm sure to anyone with the appropriate level of skill, you'll be able to figure out a way to resolve that issue and have the appropriate sockets on the back. And one other thing I'll say, while you've got the case off, just have a look at the speaker, because, yeah, there is no speaker. It's another one of those pieces of prison tech where the only functioning output is the headphone socket. As well as being interesting because it's transparent, it's also a good demonstration of a certain point in history, a crossover of two eras in a way. It was made in September 2008, which is relatively late for a CRT. However, in the US, there was a requirement that any televisions manufactured after March 2007 had a digital tuner in them. So this is the uncommon combination of a CRT with a built-in digital tuner. There's quite a bit more to this, though. The origins of this television weave quite the tangled tale. I mean, it's branded as RCA, and in fact it displays both the old and newer RCA logos. But by the time this television came out, RCA had been gone for over 20 years. The name had been acquired by Thomson SA, a French company. But Thomson SA around this time weren't doing great either and had massive debt, so just 2 years later they renamed themselves as Technical SA. But they weren't the people manufacturing this TV either. It's a product of TTE in Indianapolis. But again, it wasn't being made in Indianapolis. It turns out TTE is the company better known as TCL, a Chinese TV manufacturer who, since making this institutional CRT in 2008, have gone from having a television market share of just 2.3% to apparently being second only to Samsung. Now, of course, all the tech I've shown you in this video is now out of date. If you were to visit a prison nowadays, you'd perhaps see somebody watching an HD television, a flat screen one, although the frame would still be clear and it might not have any speakers in. They might be listening to CDs now, but then again, they might be listening to MP3s. There's a special tablet that's made just for in-base, so it shows that even on the inside, technology does move forward, although at a slower pace than it does on the outside. But if you ever find yourself in a store and you notice some clear electronics in there, especially when it comes to cassette players, just bear in mind that there's probably a good reason that those exist, and it's quite possibly down to the US penal system. And if you see a cassette release in a store, a new special limited edition album, remember that the reason that that can still be made nowadays, for a good decade or so, when nobody else was buying cassettes, people were buying them inside prisons and keeping the production facilities for these things around. And at a time when maybe you're feeling a little bit trapped in there, it's a bit like a prisoner yourself, just remember there's one thing you can do at home that they can't do in the prisons, and that's turn up the volume. Although, don't turn it up so loud that you annoy your neighbours. But that's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching. years ago, I made a video about an unusual Akai cassette deck that had a very complicated auto-reverse mechanism. Now, at the start of that video, I said this. This is one of Philips' early attempts at an auto-reverse mechanism, and the idea with this one is, once it's finished playing the tape, it fires it up a plastic ramp. It hopefully slides back down that ramp, and with the wind in the right direction, your fingers crossed, it'll locate back in the machine and play the other side. Now, understandably, after I said that, quite a few people wanted to see that Philips mechanism in action, and indeed you can count me amongst that list. I've been looking for one for myself for quite a few years, but they're quite hard to get hold of. There weren't many of them sold. I don't think it wasn't a particularly popular device, and then of course you've got the factor of these things being getting on for 50 years old now. Anyway, recently I managed to get hold of one, although it's not working, or it wasn't. In this video, you'll see a section where I attempt to repair it, and then at the end, there'll be a demonstration of what I managed to get working. So if you want to just skip to that bit, feel free. But this is the one I got hold of. It's a Philips N2401. This dates from 1970. Now, the model I showed you in those pictures was a slightly later one, and that was from, I think, 1974. It was a bit of a revision to this, but they both operate in a very similar manner. It doesn't look particularly exciting there, does it? I mean, it's just a kind of boring early 1970s cassette deck with a top-loading cassette mechanism. It gets interesting, though, if at the time you were to go and buy yourself one of these. This is the Philips ski slope, as it's affectionately known, or on the back it says it's the N6711. So you combine the N6711 with the N2401, and you get yourself quite a unique cassette-based experience. So, let's get on with it. When this model came out in 1970, it was really still quite early days for hi-fi cassette decks. After all, Philips had only added stereo into the format in 1966, and the machines of this period had this similar top-loading layouts. The looks of the N2401 really didn't stand out from the rest of the models that were on sale during this period. But we'll just take a quick look around the machine. So, of course, it is stereo. It's got the usual TEK counter and your recording level indicator. The controls are pretty standard, other than the fact the play key here is labelled start and also doubles as a reject button. More on that later. And the key to its right, with a downward pointing triangle above a line, that's the pause button. From the controls on the right, you can see that this cassette deck has its own built-in amplifier, meaning it can be used as a standalone device when it's connected up to speakers using the sockets on the back. However, it can also be connected up to an existing hi-fi via the DIN plugs. On the bottom, there's a switch to select the voltage, but in North America, this model was sold by Philips under the Norelco brand, as they weren't allowed to use the Philips name there due to its similarity to Philco. Right, that's all the normal stuff ticked off. Now let's look at what makes this particular machine different. You'll notice the spindles are recessed at the moment. They're able to drop down inside the machine, and this is so the tape can slide out of position and travel under the central bar and get deposited in this bin on the right-hand side. And it's this mechanism that enables the machine to play a stack of cassettes. The player would come with this plastic box that attaches to the top and allows automatic playback of one side of 6 cassettes. But if you wanted to automatically play both sides of those cassettes without getting up to turn them over and reload them back into the top, then you'd want to buy the optional ski slope attachment. But of course, I'm getting ahead of myself here, as I can't demonstrate any of this until I manage to get the machine working. And as it stands at the moment, it will turn on, the VU meter lights up, and the spindles inside turn, but that's as far as it goes. Even with a tape in place, it refuses to do anything at all. So, of course, I'm going to open it up and see if I can get it to do something. Now, the 4 screws in the base are a bit of a fiddle to get out, as they're all flat heads and they're recessed down the end of a long tube. I was thinking it was a bit ironic that Philips chose not to use Philips screws, but of course they are different companies. The screw people have 2 L's in the name. I'm just filling in time here with irrelevance while I get it open, but as you can see, we're now inside, and is often the case. There's still not a great deal to see initially. All the belts are still hidden away, so I decided to remove the centre plastic piece here just to give myself a little bit more access. Now, with another machine I took apart, once I'd removed this section, I was able to see how it all fitted together. It's not the case in this one, it just comes up another panel, unfortunately. But I don't know if you saw there, a little spring went flying off and landed in the bin. And it was only when I you can see here with that plastic cassette belt unscrewed and removed and placed out of the way, I really don't have any more access than I had before. So I need to move on and try something else. One thing I have noticed with it powered up, if I press the play key, it is activating a solenoid there at the top. But that is about all that's happening at the moment. Sometimes things are fun to work on, but this is not one of those occasions. I need to get access to the other side of this to see exactly what's going on with the belts and things. I'm going to put the top back on because a couple of springs popped off. There's all sorts of complicated bits in here. So I'll explain what this is here. This is the sled type mechanism. So what this does, it slides under the cassette, and this part of the top here is spring loaded. I don't know if you can see that. So that pops up. So once it goes underneath the cassette, it pops up, and then it can drag the cassette out and put it into this bin here. This is pulled along by a string. The string at the moment is under tension from this spring here, so it's not pulled from this direction, it's pulled from underneath. I've noticed the string doesn't quite go on the middle of this pulley either. It keeps dropping down the side of it. That might be an issue. Also, we've got a micro switch type thing here. There's another one there. And there's a further one in the back of this mechanism here. So this is the one that tells the device that there's a cassette in place, I think. That one there is the one that tells it if the record mechanism has been activated. That was a bar that kind of goes down. It's spring loaded. Oh, it's all these bits to put back already. I mean, it's a bit of a nightmare of a thing. That one, I think that's the one to tell it when the cassette's cleared. So you can then put another cassette down. I think that's what that was for. Wow, what a thing. Anyway, I'm cleaning it up. I put some contact cleaner on all the micro switches, but that's really all I can do on this side. I'm pretty clueless. I'm going to turn it over and see if I can figure any of the other side out. So it was at this point I went back and looked at the footage of me taking that top section out to see where that spring had come from. But once I got it connected back in position, which was easier said than done, I then took out the 4 screws that were holding the chassis to the base and carefully flipped it over. Right, there's a couple of things going on in here that I don't really understand, but there's a couple I can also see that are definitely wrong and I can quite easily fix. So, first off, we've got the belts. This goes from that wheel to that one, and then from there to there. But there's also another belt at the back here that's clearly fallen off, and that should be going around that wheel there onto this one here. So I can put that back on. Now, I bought a set of belts, but some of these look quite tricky to replace. I mean, some you could just put the belt underneath and around, but this one here particularly, it's supposed to go over there and under there. I'm not sure how all this would come off. The thing with it is that the belts, you know what, they're really springy. There's nothing wrong with them. They're not sticky at all. They're dry up. Someone replaced them not too long ago. So I'm just going to try popping that belt back on that wheel at the back there, see if that fixes that. But the other thing is to do with the string. This is the string here. It goes up to the top there. This is the thing that pulls that little sled across that moves the cassette in and out. Well, it's attached up here to this large wheel. So no doubt this turns and pulls that string. Actually, it'll turn that way to pull the string. Now the string goes down to the bottom here. It's not particularly easy to see from the angle that you're at, but it's fallen off its 2 wheels here. There's one there. And there's another one there. So the idea is it goes around that one, over that one, and then through to the other side of the case. As it is, it's gone behind this one here on the right, and down the side of the other one as well. So I can pull that through from the other side, get a bit of that slack that's on the spring, and relocate this where it should be. Hopefully that means the jet mechanism will work again. Right, now the more I look at this, the more I realise that someone's had a go at this and they've given up, which is a bit worrying. I'll tell you what makes me think that. I don't know if you can see on the inside of this plastic wheel here, these black lines, those are the remnants of the old belt that was on here that melted and turned to black tar. So at some point someone's taken those belts out and replaced them with these. I thought they were really decent quality, so these have recently been replaced. There's another bit of belt left on the counter mechanism here that is quite tricky to replace because you'd have to take a belt from there to this part in the middle, which is completely buried down there. I'm not sure how you'd ever even get to that. So that's why they haven't done the counter belt. It was just too complicated. But one thing they have done is they've put this belt on here, and this was was the one that made me realise something's gone wrong, because I think it's supposed to go from this wheel here to underneath this wheel. And they've kind of threaded it around a couple of things and given up, because I mean, the position it is at the moment, it could never have got itself in that position, because it's going over this bracket here, but it's going under it at the back, so that definitely would not work. I'm also going to mention, I downloaded the service manual. People say, oh, get the service manual, that'll be dead easy. Yeah, look at that. I mean, flipping heck, I can't figure that out. I've been staring at this thing for half an hour, just trying to work out which belt goes where, and I can see there's 3 of them, and then the 4th one is this one up here for the counter, but it really doesn't give you an awful lot of help as to which belt goes where. Now, there is a little bit further on which has another diagram there, so that's the motor going to that belt. Well, we've got that one on. This one going down here under the big flywheel, well, we've got that one on. So it's this other one going like that we need to sort out. Well, these things here, I've got to show you, they were sponges at one point, so that when you put the 2 halves together, it fits together nicely, it doesn't rattle around. We'll just look at them now. It's the same stuff they make those pads out of on 8 tracks, that just turned to dust, so it would have been kind of a sponge type material. But yeah, I'm going to have to vacuum that out a bit later on. Oh, here, let's just look at the belt kit that I got for this machine. I just want to see how many belts there are supposed to be. Yeah, I think there's 4 in there. So the one that I'm replacing now, I might swap out one of these if I can find the right length. Yeah, so there we go. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, there's 4 belts. At least I know I'm not going bad. So my plan with this belt, to get it in the right position, was to remove this clip, which should enable me to take apart the linkage and feed the belt underneath. Now, to stop that clip pinging off and vanishing, I'm putting a bit of white tack behind it. Other colours of tack are available, and I hope this is going to catch it when I pull that clip apart with a couple of screwdrivers. Now, with that out of the way, the arms can come apart at the pivot. There are a couple of plastic washers in here that I've moved out of the way because I didn't want to lose them. And then I removed the loose belt that was in the machine and replaced it with a new one that I got in my belt replacement kit off eBay. The process was complicated because of the difficult access, but eventually I managed to get everything back where it should be with no mishaps. And this particular part of the repair is now done. Okay, I think I can get the counterbelt on after all, so this is the wheel that needs to go to here. It's out of focus, but that's what we're looking at over there. Now, if I put the hand underneath this, you can see I can spin that, and that's because that's attached to the left spindle. So if I take that plate off again that I've just spent so long putting back on the top, make sure I clean off any gunk on these, I can send the belt through from that side, loop it around there, and then pull it across onto this wheel here. So might as well do that. I don't know if this thing's going to work, but at least it's going to have a set of belts in it. Of course, with the benefit of hindsight, I now realise I shouldn't have been so quick to put this part back on the machine earlier on. But of course, hindsight is 2020, and it's 2021 now. Okay, so this is the one I need access to. The belt goes around that yellowed piece of plastic at the bottom there. I'm just going to clean it off first with some isopropyl alcohol, because it's still got quite a bit of belt residue on there. I've tried normal Q-tips, they're a bit big, so these are pointed. These are specially designed for cleaning things, not just for sticking in your ears. So these should be a little bit better at getting the stuff out of the tiny gap on there. Yeah, you can see that, look at that. Doing a much better job. It's going to take me quite a few of these to clean all that out. Okay, so we finally got there. Now I can send this belt down through this hole here, and hopefully I'll be able to retrieve it from the other side. Now before I close this up, I just wanted to show you this down here. I was thinking, how the heck am I supposed to get a belt around there? But I think that is an alternative wheel to go on here for if you're putting this in a country with a 60 Hz power supply rather than a 50. You'd unscrew that from there and swap it out with that one. But yes, it turns out on closer inspection that the installed wheel does in fact have 50 Hz written on it. Now this bar fits at the top of here. It's a bit of a nuisance to get this in. This is all part of the right protect mechanism. So the idea is at the top of your tape here, it will push this bar upwards. That means if it can push it up, the right protect notch hasn't been pulled out. And this pulls a piece down here, which goes under the record lever. And on the end of that, there's a section that sticks up. So if it's in this down position here, you're unable to press the record button, whereas if it slides up, you should be able to press it. That connects to the end of the bar via this pole here. So effectively, all that's happening is once the tape is okay to record on it, pulls the piece up and away from the record button, and then once you can't record on it, because someone's pulled out the right protect notch, there's a spring that keeps flying off, which is supposed to pull this back down and underneath that record button.
Avant, quand je prenais des photos avec mes anciens téléphones, la photo en fait ne ressortait jamais comme moi je le voyais dans mes yeux. Mais avec ce téléphone-là, ça ressort mais 1000 fois mieux que qu'est-ce que je vois. Quand je prends des selfies, je me sens bien représentée, mon teint ressort toujours bien, ça ressemble juste vraiment à ma peau. On retrouve toutes les nuances dorées, toutes les nuances de brun exécutées à la perfection. Je m'appelle Imani et j'ai un Google Pixel.
Okay, it's day 2 now, and I do think I'm getting somewhere slowly. The belt at the back here that was driving this large wheel, it was slipping. I didn't realise it looked like it was moving, but it wasn't. And therefore, the whole mechanism wasn't working as it should do. It wanted to do a full rotation. You might notice there's an arrow on here, and that shows the direction that the wheel is supposed to turn. Now, of course, that is just for someone repairing it. That arrow doesn't need to be there for the customer normally. So they're expecting you to have a look in here. I'm not surprised given the kind of rather unusual mechanism that it uses, lots of different components just to move a tape around. But anyway, I think I've got that working. But I'm not going to close it up yet because I need to put a belt on this mechanism. The one I put on there, I thought it was all right, but the trouble is this whole part here moves up and down. And in the process of doing that, the belt just fell off again. So obviously it wasn't tight enough. So I'm going to have one more go putting a belt. So I found one that I think is the right size. It's got enough springiness in it as well because some of the others were a little bit hard, I think, and that's why it fell off. Right, now I'm still not sure whether or not this is going to work. I'll only find out once I put it back together. I'll put this top half back down in the case because part of it is that this is driven by gravity. See this thing here? This should be in the down position at the moment, but because I've got it slanted up, it's gone the other way. This is the motor, and it's a flywheel here, and it's designed to go down at a certain point so the cassette can slide out of the way, and then it moves up into the cassette. The two spindles move into the holes on the cassette. So I'll have to tilt it to demonstrate this next feature to you. But you can see how the bell that goes up to the timer up here, the counter I should say, that moves with this. It's pulling on the thing underneath here, so that's why it was popping off before. If it falls off again, I'm going to give up on that because I'll spend a lot of time on it. It took me another half hour to do it. There's also a lot of things in here. It's relying on little tiny things like a switch type thing here, or leaf switch I should say. There's another one here that goes different bits on as well. Depending on the position of this, it press various parts of this. There's multiple parts it could press. It just tells it which position the wheel is. So let's just tilt it down. I'll try not to get electrocuted, and I'll just switch it on. I just want to show you what it's doing when it's working. So here we go. Right now, I'm going to press the button to reject a tape. I'll just watch the top half.
That would be awesome.
Clicks into that position there. So
What?
I think that's where it will be playing the tape, but let's reject that tape. And again, this has dropped down now. And then it should pop back up again. At least I think that's the idea. Let's try it again. So that should be up there like that now. And then we'll do it like this. It moves down. The question is whether or not it's going to move back into position. I really don't know until we put it back together again. So let's put this top half on. But yeah, it all seems to kind of be working. Right, I'm going to switch it on and see what happens. Right, there's a click there, and I think this is the point where I can put a cassette in. So if we imagine there's a cassette in here now, and we click start. Watch this sled thing move across. Now, that would be the tape playing, this would be folding down underneath the tape. So now, pretend I reject that tape, it moves across, flips up,
Personally, I love the smell of
slides across, and drops the tape down into the bin.
I feel like the
Now,
people
that all
who
seems to
don't
work,
like
too,
smoking
so
are the people who don't
let's just
smoke.
try it with a cassette in place. So I'm going to pop the cassette in here. It's a weird cassette loading mechanism. You can drop it on it, but without it going into the spools there. So let's start this tape. Hallelujah.
I
That
feel
seems
like
to be
people your
moving.
age, because you guys have been smoking,
Yeah.
not what
Excellent.
we smoke
Now,
for
this
so
point, this
long,
tape should be
you guys
playing. Oh,
are
so look.
expecting something different.
Tape
And
car's
then when
moving.
you guys end up smoking our weed, it's not what you expected from like your adolescence.
That seems to be okay. In fact, let's
Yeah.
try fast forward it. Yeah, that's working. Rewind. Oh wow, it's all working, all the features. Now I've got some extra short tapes, so I'm just going to run this one to the
Yeah,
end.
but these like people my age
See if it does what it should do, which I think should get to the auto stop position and just bend the tape over here. So let's find out. Okay, now I've got to the end of the tape, but it hasn't choked it out. Let's reject it and see if that works. Oh, hello, stop. What's going on, Governor? We seem to have an issue. Let's just stop there. Okay, well that was fun, wasn't it? What is it catching on? It's catching on something, isn't it? Okay, we're edging closer and closer. The last thing that I think is causing an issue is the bar for the recording protection mechanism. As it stands, it moves up into this position at the top for the tape to go in and out. But it's still leaving enough of the rod here at the top, which is spring loaded, just to catch in the top of the tapes. Now, if it's a tape that you can record on, not a problem because it shouldn't push it out of the way. But if it's a pre-recorded tape, it's catching in the hole at the top. So I just need to find a way just to move that like a fraction of a millimetre further up. And I think the best option is to get this bar here that's pointing down like that, just bend it a little bit more so it faces kind of that angle. Because it's pushing against this bar underneath here, that's what pushes it up. And I just think a little tiny fraction of a difference on that will mean that it clears at the top. I'm hoping that's done it, let's find out. Right, so this is what we're keeping our eye on at the top. We just want to make sure this moves out of the way, so let's find out now. It's popped in there, so let's reject it. Just going to take it and find out. Now, if you've ever attempted to repair anything, I'm sure you'll be more than familiar with this part of the process. Everything seems to be going so well, and then for some reason, just before the end, it decides to stop working completely. I think it somehow got itself stuck between loads. He wasn't sure whether it should be playing a tape or loading one. But anyway, after a bit of fiddling around, well, more than a bit, it managed to start up again. So let's give that another go. You get the feeling with some pieces of electronics that they really just want to die. And that's the feeling I'm getting with this, but I'm refusing to let it go. I'm not going to pull the plug. Let's try again. Right, so we're playing the tape. Now, let's reject that tape and see what happens. Yes, it's cleared the thing. And it's in the bucket. Wow, is that it? Are we working? How's my counter going? I didn't notice that before. Let's just reset it. So, set in, start.
No, you see the complaints that people are making though, like, because I had a feeling they're supposed to be sealed. They're supposed to have like the heat sealed.
Okay, the counter bell again. But that's it now. I refuse to do it ever again because you can see it's just going to come straight off. Look, it's being pulled against the top of that wheel there. It's very tight, but it's just going to ping off there, isn't it? Because this thing goes up and down, this mechanism here. And the one at the front stays flat, so we get this angle between the two. And it's just going to pop off the top of there again. Hold on a minute. I've just realised there's another wheel over there. The bottom. That's where it can go. That's where it won't fall off. So why's this got black around it? It must have had some kind of belt around it. like I'm missing something here. But anyway, I'm going to put the belt around that bottom section.
And if I would make sure that there's
And incidentally, the reason I didn't see that earlier on is because as the mechanism moves down, it hides that bottom part of the spindle. So I've only noticed it now when it's in some post-position. But I think that's everything done in here. Let's put it back together. Hopefully I can now give you a demonstration. Oh, before I put it back together, I thought I should mention you can see a date here, a motor of 1972. Right, let's put the lid on.
fine. That's normal because even then it's not safe.
Well, that was fun. Yeah, not really. Kind of a bit of a fiddly job. Frustrating at times. I'm not particularly good at repairing things. I'm just some guy who has a tinker with things on playing around, hoping to get them working just enough to be able to show them in a video to give you an idea as to how this thing once was supposed to work. And that's what I managed to do with this. I've got it up to a level where I can demonstrate it there, and that's what this video was about. Sometimes people will get in touch with me and say, I'll tell you what, I've just bought something that's broken off eBay. I'll send it to you. You repair it in a video and then send it back to me. Yeah, not going to happen. I'm not that good at repairing stuff. I don't really have the time to be repairing things for other people. You can imagine if I had been on the clock for this. Well, I've spent virtually a week trying to get a TEK recorder working out, which is that if you charge minimum wage per hour, it's going to be very expensive, a lot more than the thing's worth. So yeah, these kind of things you can only really do yourself. Right, it's finally time to demonstrate this mechanism working now. I've been playing around with it a little bit, and it is temperamental. It doesn't always work, and that's down to age, of course. I'm sure it would be better when it was new. For example, the cassettes don't always drop down properly into here, which means it just gets stuck. But I found out it works best with 6 cassettes. You can get 7 in at a squeeze, but one of them tends to get stuck up here sometimes. And I think it's designed for 6. So I'm going to use 6 tapes here. Now, I'm using tapes of a different colour on each side, especially for this. And that's so that when I demonstrate it, you can see once they've all been played and then flipped over to the other side. So let's pop them all the way with the red side upwards to start with. So I'll put all 6 in here now. Just think if you've got 6 cassettes and then 90 minutes each, that means you've got 9 hours worth of audio. So you will play 9 hours worth of music or whatever before it gets around to beginning again and repeats itself. Now, to use these things, we use the balancing account. You don't really want that much music. I have heard about these being used as background music machines, which does tend to make a little bit more sense. But let's switch it on. Now, I've got both of these tapes wound to the end of the first side, the red side, so this should automatically reject and move on to the next one. One of the problems with the machine is the sensor on the take-up because it's a sensor over and over again on the machine. It's supposed to recognise when that pulse isn't being sent and then say, right, we've reached the end of the tape and move on to the next one. It doesn't always do it. It's a little bit temperamental.
Yes, Jack, I'm working on it.
I've seen them being repaired when they've had a similar issue. So I'm just going to leave that for the moment. I'm going to be the auto stop. I'm going to press the button. So let's pretend that this is the machine recognising the end of the tape. So in a minute you'll see it pop up here. I'm going to say it's making some pretty horrible noises, and that's because of the damping. It's all lost a lot of its sponges and things that perished over time. So those were the replacement.
So all I really need to do is hold the door up while you put the fucking thing back on,
Take
right?
2's played, I'm finished, and it should move up into this position here. Here's where they got stuck again. So in a minute it'll start working a little bit better. Right. So we've got our first 2 tapes that have played. It's playing the third one now. And it gets to the end of the third one, moves that one up the ramp here. These are supposed to drop down. And then that one goes at the top. So you can see now we've got side B on that one. And as they work their way around, it pops its way out the top here. And then throws itself down the ramp.
Jack.
The actual movement of these pushing
Yeah, I'm working on it.
does help it to keep itself going. So once I've got it cycled, it does tend to work a little bit better than it did when there was nothing on top. There you go. That's pretty much the mechanism working. That's what we've been waiting for all the time. So, that one has auto stop there, I think. Yep, but it's moved on itself. So I think we're all on the yellow sides of these now, and of course that one auto stop.
I've been playing cassettes. Cassettes that we use.
should see a yellow tape popping through. There we go.
Oh, that's going to be all of my notes at the
As quickly as the cancer. What are my chances? How much time do I have? Medical advances mean half of all cancer patients can be cured. But those in this report can't be cured. Their only hope, cutting-edge cancer drugs. Many promise a longer and better life with cancer.
The explosion of new medications is a blessing for many patients, but many drugs do little and escape through evaluation.
Many patients want choice. Try them and hope.
Ob ein Medikament wirkt, if we're honest, ganz ehrlich sind, we don't know if the drug will work.
Es kommt nicht ein Wort, you can't get a word out. It's like being trapped in your body. Because I wouldn't wish that on anyone. And I would never have admitted side effects to this drug. How safe and effective are these new cancer drugs?
Stop.
perhaps help others in an advisory capacity to write, to lecture, and to maybe and hopefully inspire younger people who are in science or those who are considering going into science and public health. What a wonderful field that is, particularly if it's done in the arena of public service.
Yeah, I have to ask, as you look back on all those decades in public service, is there a favorite moment, a favorite memory, a favorite accomplishment that really stands out to you?
You know, I'd have to say there isn't a favorite because I have had the privilege of over such an extended period of time of wearing multiple hats. The hat of a scientist prior to HIV, the hat of a scientist with the emergence of HIV, the hat of an institute director of a very, very large biomedical research institution here at the NIH, and as the hat of someone who's gotten involved in policy, where I've had the privilege of advising 7 presidents of the United States, starting with Ronald Reagan, and in each of those buckets of my life, as it were, there is 1 or 2 things that I feel pretty good about. I mean, prior to HIV, I was involved in a very niche kind of area of biomedical research and looking for therapies for formerly fatal inflammatory diseases that are unusual, if not rare. Not very many people heard about it, but they were deadly diseases. And I had the opportunity to develop therapies that had a 95% remission in otherwise fatal diseases. So I felt very good about that element of research. It was very well confined, and not very many people were aware of it, which is fine. That's not the reason to do it. Then when HIV came along, I have, for the last 40 plus years, had that be my focus of my own personal research. And I've had the opportunity to delineate what we call some of the pathogenic mechanisms of HIV disease. And by no means did I do that alone. There were so many good people throughout the country and the world who contributed to that. But it is recognized that I played an important role in that, so I feel good about that. Then the next hat was as director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. And the thing that I feel good about that, a high point, is that I established a separate division to focus predominantly on HIV/AIDS at a time when the world did not have much of interest in HIV/AIDS, even though it was insidiously creeping through the world, killing a lot of people. And the group that I put together, the Division of AIDS, by granting and contracting with a lot of talented investigators throughout the country and the world, and partnering with the pharmaceutical companies, we were able to be part of the process that put together the combinations of drugs that have literally saved millions of lives throughout the world and really converted HIV disease from an otherwise fatal disease to a chronic condition that people can live essentially normal lives. And then the other one was my opportunity to interact with 7 presidents of the United States, and one stands out in particular when President George W. Bush gave me the opportunity, because of his vision, to try and make sure that people who live in areas of the world that don't have resources, that have a lot of HIV, that they won't die because of lack of ability to get proper drugs and treatment and prevention. So he tasked me, and I very gladly accepted the task of being one of the principal architects of the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, or PEPFAR, which has actually resulted in the saving of anywhere from 18 to 20 million lives worldwide. That's probably the thing that I feel most good about, in the sense of having had the privilege of being able to be part of that. And then the last 3 years, you know very well about, is that we've had the opportunity of being part of our response to COVID-19, particularly my responsibility, was the scientific part of it, which was a great success because, again, in collaboration with pharmaceutical companies and utilizing the talents and
Really?
the vision of a lot of good scientists throughout the country.
Okay, well, that was pretty douchey.
To put together a vaccine in an absolutely unprecedented record time of 11 months.
Eat your food, maybe? Because I'll punch you. No, no, you're not eating my pizza. No, you have food. 2 seconds ago, you were literally starving to death that you're about to eat a cigarette butt off the floor. No, don't hide behind the... I'm talking behind the computer. Yeah. Shame. For shame.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you as well.
You should be embarrassed.
You've been in the public eye
Eat
through
your
all
food.
of this, right? You've been in the public eye through your work with HIV, through your work with COVID. And I'm sort of curious what you've seen in the changes in public discourse and the challenges around communicating issues of public health to everyday people.
Well, there are a number of challenges, but the one that is the most pressing right now, and in many respects the most disturbing, is the anti-science attitude among some, which is associated, for example, specifically with an anti-vax movement, when we know that vaccines are life-saving and safe, but importantly, the politicization of science, where in the United States you have the adherence or not to very clear public health principles that are influenced strongly by one's ideology, where you should have a uniform approach towards and acceptance of things that are proven to be life-saving, and yet you have the uptake of vaccines and the performance of activities that are aimed at preventing the spread and the effect of infection. And you have major differences in the country based on ideology. An example of that is if you look at red states versus blue states, or Republican conservative dominated states versus moderate or more progressive states that are blue states, you find that the degree of uptake of vaccine is much, much less among the red states. And that results, quite frankly, and the data are clear, in more hospitalizations and deaths in those areas of the country. That should never be. A person should not suffer and die because certain ideologies tell them that they should or should not accept the vaccine. It doesn't matter what your political ideology is. When you have a life-saving intervention, you should utilize that life-saving intervention not only for yourself, but for your family and your community.
Wow.
Does that make you worry about the response to the next public health emergency?
No, does that make you
could look like?
a comment
Well,
or
if we have the degree of divisiveness in our country with the next pandemic, I'm afraid that the response in many respects could even be worse in some areas than it was. We had a very good scientific preparedness response, but not such a very
the
good
Catholic Church and Jesus?
public health response, even though we thought we were really very well prepared.
Well,
My hope is that we learn the lessons of the things that we could have done better during this outbreak.
Mm-hmm. Oh, fuck. Just give me all you want.
Unravel the mysteries of dudes on a distant planet in the latest War Thunder event. An exciting journey.
Mr. Speaker, not a single climate target met.
There's a fucking Hollywood commercial from the 90s.
Tax plan disguised as a climate plan unfairly targets rural and remote communities. In northern Saskatchewan, driving is absolutely necessary. People travel great distances for groceries and medical appointments. Freight costs are significant on every item, on every shelf, everywhere. And heating our homes at -30 is not a luxury. Mr. Speaker, will these Liberals finally cancel their failed carbon tax that is crippling Canadians?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Environment and Climate Change. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Like the Honourable Member, I am from the prairies, Mr. Speaker, and no region of the country has been hit more hard than the prairies. Two, Mr. Speaker, not just one, two $1 million floods, 1 in 300-year weather events, the worst drought in over 50 years, Mr. Speaker, which devastated farmers, Mr. Speaker. The costs of climate change are rising. The Conservatives are in denial, Mr. Speaker. They need to get serious about climate change.
Mr. Speaker, everything this Liberal government touches gets broken. $54 million on a ArriveCan app that could have been built for $250,000. Tens of people wrongly sent into quarantine because of this faulty app, causing mental duress and financial hardship. Inflation, house prices, groceries, overdoses, violent crime are all at generational highs. Will these Liberals just stop trying to build back better and leave things as they found them?
That's great. Yeah.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, this government will never apologize for trying to be better.
Are you serious? Like, everything was fine and you fucked shit up.
At the beginning of this pandemic, we've been there for Canadians. We've been there to support them with wage subsidies, with CERB. We're supporting them through rental supports and dental supports. Just a couple of weeks ago, Mr. Speaker, we doubled their
We're sitting on a plate calling it dinner and said, you seem pretty ungrateful.
For their kids. Mr. Speaker, this party opposite is all about slogans, no solutions.
It doesn't make a good thing.
War is a celebration, and sometimes war is just wow. Nobody does war like we do. We make war.
Canada's provinces and territories are part of a larger whole, but are not subordinate to it. As Albertans, we love our Canada deeply. This is our home, and we are honored to be contributing members. But the way Ottawa has treated the province, most especially Alberta, is unacceptable. Albertans are demanding action to restore a relationship that respects Alberta's sovereign areas of provincial jurisdiction as defined by the Constitution.
I'm fascinated by this. If there's support for this beyond Smith's main core of support, and if Albertans in general agree to this sort of thing.
Well, first of all, it's always good provincial politics, whether it doesn't matter what province you're from, to beat up and gripe and take swipes at the government in Ottawa. So we shouldn't really be surprised, and it's a very storied tradition in Canadian politics. But what we're seeing with the Premier of Alberta is that she's taking it to a new level. We also know from the polling that when we talk to individuals in the West, that the word they're most likely to use to describe how they feel about the government in Ottawa is anger. So people are angry in the West. They're angry at Ottawa. They feel that the Federation is not working. But this is kind of, what's odd about this whole thing, this new act that it gives powers specifically to the cabinet on a lot of on federal issues, and allows Alberta to chart its own course. It's kind of like, yeah, we're still living in the house, but you know what? Lunch is no longer at 12 o'clock. We might not want to have lunch at 12. We'd like to have lunch at 2 instead. Or, you know what? when the power bill comes in, maybe we don't want to pay that, or we want to pay less, or you know what, we think we should. We're not being recognized, so it's going to inherently lead to conflict between the federal government and the province of Alberta. And the big question is the big question: will there be copycats? Will the government of Saskatchewan adopt something? And you know what? If a second province adopts a similar strategy, then I think the federal government really has to worry to kind of contain what could be a new contagion in the Federation that could be a fundamental game changer. And how about this? Why don't I throw, since the holiday season will be upon us, it is upon us, why don't I throw out one piece of good news? That perhaps this legislation
You're not getting my food.
the provinces and the federal government to talk about a renewal of the Federation and how it works. Because I think that's basically what the government of Alberta is trying to say. They're trying to say, we're not happy. We need to change things.
Oh. Can you?
Enlisted is the free brand new online World War II shooter. Command a squad of soldiers and participate in legendary.
Stop. Fucking.
For days, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has been accused of sidestepping repeated questions on China's alleged interference in Canada's elections. Now the federal government says it's preparing to consult the public on the possible creation of a foreign agent registry right here in Canada, following examples in the US and Australia to help prevent outside interference. Last month, a global news story reported China's Toronto consulate asked 11 federal candidates in the 2019 election, and that Trudeau was briefed about the allegations in January. Trudeau continues to say he was never given any intelligence briefing that China had specifically done so. Meanwhile, RCMP Commissioner Brenda Lucki sent a letter to the House of Commons Committee this week stating there was no evidence at the time of foreign interference in the 2019 federal election. But the RCMP can confirm it currently does have investigations into broader foreign actor interference activities. So, is more transparency needed from the federal government? And is Canada even doing enough to fight back against foreign interference? Joining me now are foreign affairs critics, conservative Michael Chong and the NDP's Heather McPherson. Good morning to the two of you. Nice to see you. Michael, I'm going to start with you because on the one hand, the Prime Minister has not said explicitly whether or not there was Chinese interference in our electoral process, but then he says he can reassure Canadians that the 2019 and 2021 elections were not interfered with in a way that would significantly change the results of the elections. What is your concern about this?
I told you, I have nothing for you. Eat your food. Oh, God.
Candidates that CSIS has indicated were targeted by Beijing. So that's what's in question here. And so we should allow the Prime Minister to obviously be part of the matter here, which is that Beijing has interfered in our elections, targeting certain variety associations in certain candidates.
Right, eat.
So Heather McPherson, how can we say that the integrity of our election is intact and at the same time say that a few of these writings may have been tampered with? I keep thinking there is a contradiction in the answers we are getting.
First of all, nice to see you both this morning, and I agree with you, Joyce. There is some contradictions in there, and
And what that does is it undermines Canadians' trust in our democratic institutions, and this is our biggest concern here. So yeah, we do need to get to the bottom of this. We do need to find out. We do need the government to be more transparent with Canadians. Share the information that they have with Canadians. We do have some parliamentary processes that we can utilize, and I think that's the first step. We do need to find out this information. For me, that's the first priority. But you're right that the information that we're getting from the government right now is not just contradictory, but it's damaging to Canadians' perceptions of our democracy.
So Michael Johnson, RCMP Commissioner Brenda Lucky has confirmed the police force is investigating broader foreign interference activities. So does that concern, there seems to be something out there that is being hinted at, but Canadians have no idea if these are ghosts or is this a reality?
Fucking look around. Shit, man.
Malevolent governments or interference in our democratic processes doesn't rise to the level of criminality. And so the advice from CSIS, the advice from other of our Five Eyes intelligence allies, is that in those cases where the interference is serious, where it's a national threat, but doesn't rise to the level of criminality, these things are very difficult to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. Or not often the world doesn't provide for laws against this kind of foreign interference. The solution is clear, and CSIS, in its top secret briefing note that was released to the Procedure and House Affairs Committee of the House of Commons, said the way to deal with that kind of foreign interference that doesn't rise to the level of criminality is to use transparency and sunlight and to reveal to the public details of what is going on. And this is advice the Prime Minister is not following in the instance of allegations about writing associations and candidates being targeted by Beijing in the 2019 and 2020 elections. MI5, for example, is following that advice. In fact, last summer, MI5, the UK government, and the Speaker of the UK House of Commons went public with naming a Beijing agent in the UK Parliament. She was publicly named as an agent of Beijing, and the MP she had been targeting donations were also named. And those MPs took action to ensure that she no longer could influence them through donations and through other actions. And so, in instances where it doesn't rise to the level of criminality, CSIS advice is clear. A way to counteract this foreign interference is for the Prime Minister to have a link and to tell us which writing associations and candidates are being targeted. And that's something the Prime Minister has refused to do, something he's been evasive about in the last several years.
So let me ask you first, Heather, and then I want to hear you, Michael, about this. The federal government has announced on Friday that it's preparing to consult the public on the possible creation of a foreign agent registry as a means of preventing outside interference in Canadian affairs. Heather McPherson, should we have such a registry in Canada?
Of course, and not only that, we shouldn't be consulting on a registry like that. We should have had a registry in place long ago on that. This is very similar to the government releasing our Indo-Pacific strategy this week. It is years too late.
Yes.
This threat has been happening for years. The government has known about this threat for years. So to have an announcement, on a Friday in December that we're going to start consultation does seem quite weak, considering the situation we are finding ourselves in. The attacks on our democracies have been happening for years. We have some very startling things that we're hearing about 2019 and the 2021 elections. Why are we now on the verge of 2023 starting the consultation?
So, Michael Chuck, how long, Michael Chuck, would it take, as Heather says, these are consultations, so how long would it take before actually this registry could be set up?
Set up is 6 months. The operation was July 1st. This legislation has gone to do so they can have it implemented by July 1st. We had long called for the foreign agent registry, long once in the United States and in Australia. In fact, we last election, he engaged a former colleague of mine, former MP Kenny Chu from Steveston, Richmond East, proposed a bill in the last parliament to create a foreign agent registry. And for that, he was targeted by Beijing disinformation. In the last election, they spread disinformation about the vaccines on Chinese language, social media.
Oh, now I'm all cold and shit. Can you chill? Go drink some water.
So interesting. This has been an issue, and you're both right, that has sort of been lingering for a long time. And though I'm sure we're going to still be talking about it again, Heather McPherson, Michael Chong, thanks for sharing your thoughts with us. Thanks, Joyce.
Okay. Oh.
The honourable member for Lethbridge for an apology to the Minister of Public Safety for her comment in the House. The honourable member for Lethbridge.
Today, I called the Minister of Public Safety a liar. I shouldn't have done that. Instead, I should have said he misled this House. I apologize.
I don't believe that is an acceptable apology at this point. The honourable member is trying to justify what she has said, and I would just ask the honourable member if she wants to try that one more time, given the unparliamentary language that was in the House.
I called the Minister of Public Safety a liar. I shouldn't have done that. Instead, I should have said he misled this House. I apologize. I apologize.
Madam, the honourable member for Elgin Middlesex, London has a point of order.
Thank you very much. And I know that today's debate, of course, we get very uptight on certain issues, but I find it very rich when we have a member talking about the rights of women, who then turns to me and tells me to zip it. So I would like to ask for an apology from the member for Ajax. If they were actually going to talk about treating people with dignity and respect, then it goes for conservative women as well. Thank you.
Legendary A10A
Oh my gosh, fucking Christ. I don't know.
The Outer River Coast of Bay, Central Notre Dame. Mr. Speaker, Conservatives don't lash out at hardworking Canadians when they want their concerns to be heard. But that's exactly what the Senior Minister from Newfoundland and Labrador did this week when he said he's sick and tired of people talking about the cold weather. Atlantic Canadians are sick and tired of being told to sit down, stop complaining, look the other way while this government reaches into their wallets and takes their hard-earned cash, pays for policies that just don't work. Mr. Speaker, when will the minister from St. John's South Mount Pearl apologize for his shameful comments and implore his party to axe the tax? Yeah! The Honourable Minister of Tourism.
Mr. Speaker, I'll tell you what's shameful. Mr. Speaker. It's when Conservatives vote.
Order. The Honourable Minister of Finance. The Honourable Minister of Tourism.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. Let's talk about the Conservative record on reducing taxes for Canadians. It doesn't exist. So there's not a lot to say. But I can tell you about the Liberal record on cutting tax, Mr. Speaker, which is the Canada Child Benefit, they voted against. Cutting taxes on the middle class, they voted against. $15 minimum wage, they voted against. Providing dental or rental supports for 500,000 kids. How did they vote, Mr. Speaker? Against.
The Honourable Member for Coast of Bay, prices. The people of Newfoundland and Labrador and the Maritimes have seen the failure of carbon tax in the rest of Canada. They've heard the PBO tell them that 60% of Canadians pay more than they receive in carbon tax. So will the Prime Minister, if he won't listen to Conservatives, won't listen to the PBO, will he listen to the voice of the common man and axe the carbon tax?
What is your problem?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and more good news for Atlantic Canadians.
Well done.
In 3 provinces, they're going to have access to
Well
the
done.
climate action rebate, and that's going to put more money in their pockets, Mr. Speaker. But even more good news, Mr. Speaker. Hundreds of millions of dollars will be flowing into those 4 Atlantic provinces to help them move away from polluting, expensive heating oil, Mr. Speaker, to greener forms of energy, Mr. Speaker. We're focused like a laser beam on affordability, on fighting climate change. The Conservatives are focused on neither. Here, here.
Salut, c'est ça. Là, je vous montre une boîte, parce que quand même, ça, c'est déjà début encore.
I hate you.
C'est 40 600 €.
Please shut the fuck up. You're too fat. Nothing wrong with fat people, but that motherfucker's too fat.
And actually, a tax to drive up the cost of home heating, gas, groceries, and everything else. They want to triple that tax. Now we're going into the winter, where families are facing a doubling of their home heating bills right across this country. 40% of Atlantic Canadians already live in energy poverty. They cannot afford to pay anymore. Instead of spending more inflationary money to try and solve the problem that they caused, why don't they just get rid of the problem itself and get rid of the tax? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since 2015, this government has made enormous progress with respect to fighting climate change. We have one of the most detailed plans that exists in the world, but we were starting from a place where there was 10 years of Harper Conservatives that did nothing to fight climate change and to ensure a prosperous future for our children. We are working very hard to ensure that life is affordable for Canadians. I'm just going to interrupt. I mean, we're going into free holiday season and go locally as the silly season. So I'm going to ask everybody to just take a deep breath and not shout out. I don't have to come down hard at Christmas and offer people cold, so please, no shouting or yelling. It's a important time to celebrate. Okay, because it's your intention. I'd appreciate it if you could heckle the speaker. Otherwise, I might have to name you and throw you out. We don't want that to happen. As heroes at home, do we have translation? Very good. We'll look at Mr. Natural Resources from the top so we can all hear this. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Canada has one of the most detailed climate plans in the world. We are on track to ensure that we are meeting the ambitious targets that we have set. But, Mr. Speaker, we started from a base where the previous Conservative government, the Harper Conservatives, did nothing to fight climate change for 10 years. We are very much committed and we will achieve those targets. We will do so in a manner that is affordable for Canadians. 8 out of 10 Canadian families get more money back when they pay a price on pollution. It should not be free to pollute in this country. And we are certainly making investments like the announcement we made this morning of $250 million for heat pumps to ensure that we are actually moving forward in a manner that is affordable and fights climate change. The opposition. By using technology and not taxes, the previous Conservative government actually presided over the only government that actually reduced greenhouse gases. And now we have a government that has missed every single greenhouse gas reduction target that it has set, even as its carbon tax has gone up. And now they want to hit people with a tax just as home heating bills are expected to double. And their consolation prize is that sometime down the road, you might be able to get a heat pump when the winter is over if you're lucky. Mr. Speaker, why don't they just get rid of the real problem, which is the tax? For me, is that the honorable member uses technology, not taxes. Quite ironic for somebody who has actually spent his entire political career being paid by the taxpayer. I would know.
That wasn't even like that wasn't firm on this.
It is part of a climate plan. It requires regulation. It requires putting a price on pollution.
Oh, this is actually really good today.
So let's talk about Elon Musk. Well, last night after we went off the air, so like right around the same time as we were going off the air last night, Elon Musk drops a bombshell story admitting that Twitter was actively involved in undermining the 2022 elections in the United States. And this is a staggering story. So here was the original tweet that started it all. From Reuters. So there was a Reuters piece that says Twitter not safer under Elon Musk. It says former head of trust and safety. Probably just got fired. So of course they're out with an axe to grind. And then the tweet below it says Twitter has shown itself to be not safe for the past 10 years and has lost users' trust. The past team of trust and safety is a disgrace, so it doesn't have any right to judge what is being done now. They had a chance, but they sold their souls to a corporation. And then Elon jumps in response to that. Exactly. The obvious reality, as longtime users know, is that Twitter has failed in trust and safety for a very long time and has interfered in elections. Twitter 2.0 will be far more effective, transparent, and even-handed, he said.
Well, that's interesting. This comes just a few days after he said he is going to release the Twitter files, which are some kind of documents around why Twitter made certain content decisions that have affected, well, all of us, about what we can say, what we can't say,
Freezing
what we can like. It's interesting that a lot of his big bombshells come in conversations without him. He didn't come out and just say this, like, I've been looking through these Twitter files, I notice interfering in the U.S. election. And I know I bring this up a lot, but I think that it's relevant, the fact that Michael Cohen went to jail and was indicted for interfering with an election by keeping information from the U.S. public had the, well, what a court of law decided that the U.S. public had the right to know about this Stormy Daniels affair with Donald Trump. And because he was instrumental in keeping that from us, right before an election, that's why he got in trouble. So if Twitter has done anything similar, then this is the same. Then we absolutely will see that the government is choosing winners and losers and saying it's okay if it benefits one party, it's not okay if it benefits another.
Right. Yeah. And so it was only a few days ago he made that announcement on these Twitter files, and we're still waiting with bated breath on this. So here was the post-millennial headline. Breaking Elon Musk confirms that Twitter interfered with elections, and then I want to kind of go through the deep dive on this. So let's take a look at the deep dive quote on this. What the post-millennial breaks down. It has long been believed, they say, that Twitter interfered in the 2020 general presidential election in the United States by suppressing and censoring the New York Post's bombshell report on revelations of shady international business dealings and influence peddling gleaned from Hunter Biden's laptop.
Again, that's the same. I can't stand it. It's the same as the Stormy Daniels affair.
Right.
That's the same. We had the right to know both things. I can't stop.
Don't stop.
I don't have a voice to be screaming like this, but
thank you.
It'll break through. Musk vowed to make public the internal conversations had at Twitter in 2020 regarding that censorship, which polling later showed did have an effect on the election, as voters said they may not have voted for Joe Biden had they known about the reports of influence peddling in the Biden family. This reporting has been verified by established media in recent weeks. Yes, the New York Times, CBS came out and also verified it. At the time, former FBI agents claimed that the reports were intentional misinformation. And later, former Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey had apologized in front of Congress for the suppression of the accurate, verified reports. There's also been concerns that tech platforms interfere with elections in African countries by suppressing and censoring information there. Bloomberg reported in 2020 that social media platforms were cracking down on election-related content in Guinea due to concerns that the existing government was using these platforms to spread misinformation.
We start calling it disinformation. I'm just calling it Chris information. That's disinformation about Chris.
So the White House has been pushing the idea that under Elon Musk things are, it's troubling, right? That Twitter is now becoming a place of hate speech and violent rhetoric. The mainstream media won't like this statistic, which you may know over the past few days. The amount of hate speech on Twitter has actually dropped dramatically under Elon Musk. Oh, interesting. And at the same time, Twitter has added 1.2 million or 2.2 million new accounts. And earlier this afternoon, Elon Musk announced that they were expelling or getting rid of a lot of the bot accounts. So you might notice your follower counts dropping because they were just going through and eliminating bot accounts, cyber bot accounts. I don't know what a better way to say it. Fake accounts. Fake bot accounts, yeah. But that's not stopping the White House at all from spreading lies about Twitter and Elon Musk and threatening investigations over this platform. So yesterday, reporter Peter Doocy asked the White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, so when will the White House delete its Twitter account? Watch.
On another subject, when are you guys going to delete the White House Twitter account?
Thank you.
Why would we do that?
Well, you're saying that you're keeping an eye on Twitter because it might not be a suitable platform, so why use it?
Look, I want to be very clear here. The president has always said, and he has been very, very, very clear in his belief that it is important of social media platforms to continue to take steps to reduce hate speech and misinformation. And he will continue to say that. But media platforms make independent choices about their information that they present. And so, look, I don't have anything to share on any policy or any changes that we will be making. We have multiple platforms, as you know, that we utilize to communicate with the American people.
No, they don't make independent choices about what to censor. Mark Zuckerberg admitted that the FBI called him. That's not independent.
Right.
They could have made an independent choice. They did not. They had a conference call. Actually, no, they had an in-person.
They went and showed up.
Yeah, they had an in-person meeting about content. So that's a lie.
So, yeah.
Well, it can't be a lie because she said I want to be very clear here, which I kind of want to make like a game out of that. There should be something we should do every time she says I want to be clear here. I don't know if you could
I was thinking earlier today. I need some sort of a bell. I need something that I can ring or something.
Or like a swear jar.
Yeah,
Put
something
a
pops
quarter
up.
in the.
But let me be clear. We've always been clear. The president has been clear. Let's be clear. We've always been clear. She says it every 5 sentences.
And when President Biden took office, Twitter gave him the @POTUS handle.
Trudeau is hunting the firearms of Canadians. The United Conservative Party administration in Alberta is among the loudest opponents, recommending that the Royal Canadian Mounted Police should refuse to participate. The Prairie province of Saskatchewan is the latest addition to this growing list of dissidents. Hello and welcome to TFI Global Canada, TFI Global's channel specially dedicated to the Great White North. I'm your host, Akanksha. Let us begin. According to recent reports, Saskatchewan has introduced a new piece of legislation which it says is aimed at protecting law-abiding firearms owners. A news release from the province touts the bill as establishing a provincial firearms regulatory system that will promote the safe and responsible use of firearms and expanding the role of Saskatchewan Firearm Office in prosecuting non-violent regulatory firearms offences. But under questioning from the media, Provincial Minister of Corrections, Policing and Public Safety Christine Tell described it as a bill designed to pushback against the federal government's expansion of gun control in Canada. She said the provincial government has concerns about the federal firearm buyback program. In May 2020, the federal government passed an order in council banning 1,500 assault-style firearms and certain components of newly prohibited firearms. You see, Trudeau's government is attempting to tighten gun laws with a bill to freeze the buying, selling, and importation of handguns, to stiffen penalties for gun smuggling, and to introduce red flag laws that would allow judges to temporarily remove firearms from people deemed a harm to themselves or others. The National Handgun Freeze is a part of the government's comprehensive plan to tackle gun violence. The government has already banned over 1,500 types of assault-style firearms and has strengthened gun control laws to expand background checks. Bill C-21 proposes further measures to keep guns out of the wrong hands, like revoking the firearms license of those involved in acts of domestic violence or criminal harassment, continuing to fight gun smuggling and trafficking, and providing law enforcement more tools to investigate firearms crimes. But hold on, this appears to be a ban rather than a freeze. Also, it will not contribute a decrease in crime in the nation. We know that law-abiding Canadian gun owners are not to blame for the high prevalence of gun crime in the nation, but the bill exclusively targets individuals who are already following the law. As long as this persists, gangs will continue smuggling illicit firearms into the country and employing them in crimes. Furthermore, the provincial governments have repeatedly criticized the federal gun control policy, claiming active and proposed gun bans could criminalize hunters, farmers, and target shooters who collectively own hundreds of thousands of firearms that will soon be prohibited. Because semi-automatic rifles and shotguns are so prevalent among Canadian hunters, gun rights activists assert that the prohibition would certainly apply to the millions of firearms that are now in use by Canadian hunters and sport shooters. The result would be that most Canadian hunters would be restricted to employing rifles that manually load cartridges into the chamber before each trigger pull using pumps, levers, or bolts. Besides, although the RCMP is Canada's federal police agency, it also offers provincial and territory policing services across much of the country.
Did you know
The federal
that?
government is responsible for paying 30% of RCMP expenses via agreements for contract policing. The balance of the expenses is covered by the hundreds of dollars that the province's citizens pay each year to support the RCMP as their provincial police force. Why would they then let the RCMP harm their own culture with self-funded resources? Make no mistake, the dispute is one of several that's inflaming tensions between Ottawa and the provinces. Long distant from the federal government, provinces like Alberta and Saskatchewan have introduced legislation to increase their sovereignty and oppose what they see to be federal intrusion. As a result, if Trudeau ignores these simple demands from the provincial governments, he will undoubtedly encourage more dissent and dig his own political grave.
Des diamants. Je suis juste ici pour les tâches avec Percy le Proclin. Bon, c'est plus que bon, c'est Percy le Proclin.
Days when the shaggy cops can go help out, like, since we have a bunch of police that are policing in places they don't live anyway.
On this Sunday night, sending reinforcements.
Oh, shit.
So, I have to admit that from time to time I do make mistakes, which can lead to videos in which pretty much everything goes wrong. Case in point, the video in which I tried turning an induction motor into a generator, so that I can rotate it with my bicycle to generate power. Now, even though the induction motor generator didn't work well back then, I'm still to this date interested in hooking up a generator to my bike and creating my own electrical energy. section had the idea to simply use a car alternator to do that, which you can get more or less inexpensively from eBay. And in case you do not know, such generators are obviously used in cars and are turned by the motor of it in order to create electrical energy and thus charge up the car's battery to power all of the electronics. So I ordered one of those generators, and as you can see, it seems to be able to output a maximum of 120 amps at 12 volts, which equals a power of 1,440 watts, which should be more than enough to power most of my home appliances. So in this video, let's hook this alternator up to my bike in order to finally create my long-desired bicycle generator setup and find out how much power I can truly produce on my own and whether I could power my home with it. Let's get started.
Okay, so people took the word power and related that to physical power means metaphorical power.
This video
even
is
though those are the
sponsored
quick
by
everything.
JLC PCB.
That's what I think.
Visit
And
their
I think
website,
eventually they realized that
jlcpcb.com, to not only
can't
find
charge
out
people for
what
power
also
if they could just
PCB
fucking
and assembly services they
make it
offer,
themselves.
but also to easily upload your Gerber files and thus order affordable and high-quality PCBs quickly. First off, let's have a closer look at the car alternator. As you can see, the front side comes with a gear that features 6 ribs, which is pretty typical for such alternators. The back side was a bit more complicated though, with 2 big terminals, which are both the plus output poles of the system, while the enclosure is the minus pole. And there were also 2 smaller pins a bit more hidden, whose function was not obvious yet. But anyway, to confirm that this alternator works, I simply hooked up my multimeter to its main output poles and gave the rotor a good spin. And as you can see, we get absolutely nothing on the multimeter. Brilliant. At this point, I thought that because the generator construction probably comes with 3 main coils, whose AC output voltage needs to get rectified with something like a 6-Puls-Brückenschaltung, the voltage drop of those diodes would be too high to get a usable output voltage at a low RPM. I mean, the voltage drop seems to be around 1 volt, and my low RPM might be able to play just that. And considering that a car uses at least 1000 to 2000 RPM to get 12 volts on the alternator's outputs, it was time to rotate faster. So I brought in an old bike I had laying around that came with a decent shifting system,
That's my bike.
at least for one side of it.
That same one.
I actually had to do some tinkering at the back wheel in order to get it into the highest gear. But after doing that, I was able to measure an RPM of around 300 to 400 while powering the bike with my hands. But as you probably already guessed, that was still not good enough, which means we need another additional gear system.
Okay, not worth it.
This video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Click the link in the description or go to surfshark.deal/weareandhell to get 85% off the Surfshark for 2 years. Listen to 3 months for free.
Let me tell you a story about change and innovation and one man's mission to save the world. Growing up, Louis Cyper was like any other Canadian boy. Poverty, famine, and conflict minerals were the last things on his mind. He was too busy thinking about math, food, and sport. This all changed one day when he heard on the news about an Eritrean boy bravely fought against child labor in his country. The story lit a fire in young Louis, who from that moment on made it his mission to be on the news for that too. He went on to found the Weir and Hell Foundation to fight child poverty, and now he's done more than poor what's-his-name ever could. Louis saw that the problem with traditional charities was that they weren't operated like businesses. Realizing that there had to be a better way, he traveled to developing countries and partnered with the most respected members of these communities, the resource extraction companies operating in the area. Now, thanks to Louis's innovative fusion of charity and business, Kids in North America can know they're helping to stimulate the economies of poorer countries whenever they buy their favorite products from the Gold Coal and Petroleum Company.
I first got involved with the Beer and Health Foundation all the way back in high school, and I've been right here saving the world with them ever since. We do just so much amazing work with schools and wells. I think we're still giving them goats. But most importantly of all, they helped me, a shy kid with braces, acne, and the twisted sense of humor that most people just weren't smart enough to understand at the time. I feel like I finally found a place where I belong. And thanks to the work we've done, tens of thousands of kids all over the first world now think that that's what activism is all about. And none of this would be possible without the amazing, generous companies who donate to us out of the goodness of their hearts, including Surfshark VPN. As anyone who's donated large sums of money to the Beer and Health Foundation knows, online security is extremely important. Surfshark creates a private internet connection for you that protects your online activity from hackers, trackers, and your ISP, both at home and on the go. Not only that, but for those of you who aren't generous enough to afford to take volunteer trips to any of the Beer and Health Foundation's luxury resorts in developing countries, Surfshark is the next best thing. Surfshark allows you to change your location to access region-locked content and is the only premium commercial VPN with servers in over 100 countries. And they're offering a special deal for Black Friday/the holiday period. Right now, if you click the link in the description or go to surfshark.deal/beerinhell or use the promo code beerinhell at checkout, you'll get 85% off for 2 years plus an additional 3 months for free. But that's not all. As part of this partnership, the Beer and Health Foundation is proud to announce for the very first time that we will be expanding our work in developing countries to break the cycle of poverty and stimulate the economy with our schools teaching young people to be online political content creators. So click that link in the description to get Surfshark and lift a young person out of poverty and onto a debate. Hey everyone, since the season 'tis almost upon us, I thought that this month I'd talk about charities and why they're evil. Well, maybe not evil per se. There absolutely are charities that do super important work, and even the less good ones are, for the most part, staffed by very, very good people who are sincerely trying to help. That said, I'm going to try to make the case that there are problems with the ways that most charities operate that can't be fixed without changing things on a fundamental level. Also, this is just a lot more fun to talk about. Some of them are kind of... As a bit of a case study, I'm going to look at one charity that's controversial? Can I say allegedly evil? Let's go with embattled. In this video, I'm going to talk about the We charity and the problem with NGOs.
What do you need to assuage your guilt? Is it medicine or empty gestures? Keep your sympathies all to yourself and exchange them later for social flavor.
So, there's a pretty strong chance that the We charity doesn't mean anything to about 93% of the people watching this. And that's that's because they're a Canadian charity. That's right, you pervs. I'm going to talk about Canadian politics in this video. So strap the fuck in. Please don't close this window. I promise it's going to get weird. Like, I cannot stress enough how batshit some of the things that this charity is accused of doing are.
Yes.
Also, like, they do operate a lot outside of Canada, too, with massive events
Africa.
in America and England especially. But as far as I've seen, people in those countries don't seem to have any idea who they are, which is pretty on brand for anything that Canadians claim is internationally successful. It's like how people will say how the tragically hit were internationally renowned, and like, yeah, New Orleans' sinking is a banger, but so to catch everyone up, most basically, the We Charity is a massive children's charity here in Canada run by Craig and Mark Kielberger, two brothers who look like if someone designed clothing store mannequins that could feel pain. The We Charity was originally called Free the Children when they started, focusing specifically on fighting child labor through, like, conducting raids on sweatshops. But eventually, they realized that that wasn't very effective and instead moved to a more holistic approach, as well as a name that makes them much harder to research. They mostly operate in poor countries where they do a little bit of everything: building schools, digging wells, improving infrastructure, providing medicine, and creating jobs, or as they would put it, breaking the cycle of poverty. On paper, that all sounds pretty good, right? But there's so much more to it than that. The We Charity has been alleged to have done basically every sketchy thing that you could imagine a children's charity doing. Lying to donors, misappropriating funds, mistreating workers, child abuse, going after journalists. Oh yeah, and also one guy claims that Mark personally held him at gunpoint and essentially tortured him in order to get him to sign a fraudulent confession, which would later be used to blackmail him. You know, charity. Now, a quick disclaimer here. Normally, when I make these videos, I do all my own research and try to be very thorough. For this one, I tried to do that and then begrudgingly listened to a podcast that is about this subject called White Saviors by Canadaland. And, like, they cover everything I was going to and a lot more, and spoke to tons of people who were involved. I think I take my analysis in a different direction, and they aren't the only source I used here, but they are the main one. I bring this up for two reasons. One, this is a condensed version of a lot of the stuff that they go over, so if you're interested in learning more, you can check them out, link in the description. And two, the We Charity is very litigious and has filed multiple defamation suits against that podcast, as they do with any outlet that is critical of them. And like with the White Saviors suit, they not only sued the company that produced it, but also named everyone involved in the production, seemingly kind of just at any level, as defendants. This is all to say that throughout this video, you're going to hear the word allegedly a lot, and that's why. It hasn't been within the scope of this project to fully investigate everything myself, and so I'm relying on things that other people have reported, which seem credible to me, but the We Charity definitely would disagree. It's just not within my pay grade to determine what's true or not in some of those cases, and so I've tried to leave some of the more ambiguous stuff. To summarize, please don't sue me. Anyways, the thing that most Canadians are probably most familiar with the charity for is the We scandal that broke in 2020. I'm just going to get the Canadian politics stuff out of the way right now, and then I promise that'll be it, and also I'll buy you all ice cream. So, near the start of the pandemic, since a lot of young people were losing their summer jobs, Justin Trudeau introduced a program where kids who lost their jobs could make some money being paid to do community service. This was a massive project with a budget of almost $1 billion, which the Trudeau government gave to the We Charity to handle without looking into any other organizations first.
This raised some eyebrows, especially since Trudeau and his family had appeared at an awful lot of WE events before and after becoming Prime Minister. Now, there is a reasonable explanation for all of this, which is that the WE charity is the biggest children's charity in the country, and so since they've had tons of politicians and celebrities at these events, it's not at all out of character for Justin Trudeau to be there, since we're talking about a man who loves photo ops so much that he shows up to climate change marches to, I guess, protest himself. Also, this program needed to be implemented as fast as possible, and so while I think there's definitely a case to be made for why they should have looked into other organizations, especially knowing what we know now, given WE's massive organizational infrastructure and connections with schools across the country, they were genuinely a natural first pick for something like this. So while that story checks out, it was still a little fishy. Did WE and Trudeau have any financial relationships that could make this a conflict of interest? Asked Trudeau's critics. No, replied the WE charity, lyingly. It came out that while it was true that everything that Trudeau and his family had done for WE prior to 2015 was unpaid, after he became Prime Minister, WE super randomly, allegedly, began paying his mom and brother for speeches that they give, which they used to do for free. They also began sending his finance minister on luxury vacation and gave that minister's daughter a job. And also, weirdest of all was that they gave Trudeau's wife a podcast. Like,
all the people that
First Lady isn't really a title we use here.
When you go to jail, they go to
Because of that, Wikipedia had her occupation listed as WE ambassador. Stupid fake country.
You stupid fake country.
Ça se fait être en grand. Son plateau de charcuterie a rien d'ennuyant. C'est une p*** de vrai d'or. Elle fait pas tout ça juste parce que c'est Noël. Elle fait ça parce que c'est dans sa nature.
Milkscreen permet aux mamans qui allaitent de siroter un verre de vin en toute tranquillité, tout en assurant la sécurité de leur bébé. Milkscreen détecte la présence d'alcool dans votre lait maternel en seulement 2 minutes. Ouvrez l'emballage, exprimez le lait maternel sur la bandelette ou trempez-le dans une petite quantité de lait. Attendez 2 minutes avant de lire le résultat. Un changement de la couleur du tampon indique la présence d'alcool dans votre lait maternel. Alors, cessez l'allaitement pour le moment. Si la couleur du tampon l'allaitement, nous vous accompagnons dans votre démarche d'allaitement.
When the scandal broke, Trudeau shut down the government to prevent investigations into it. Fully just a thing he can do without it even really being that big of a deal. And then, in the end, his finance minister took the fall. So yeah, that's basically what happened and is also the most normal part of the story. Oh yeah, and also, the ice cream shop is closed. We're turning around and going to the exploration of the problems endemic to the non-profit industry store. They're open all night. To start, I want to look deeper into things, and so let's rewind a bit to where this whole controversy started. In the early Middle Ages, the first almshouses were established in Europe. These almshouses were shelters that provided housing to the poor, old, and sick, and like all charity at the time, they were run by religious organizations. Secular charitable organizations didn't begin in Europe until the Enlightenment. The upper classes began getting involved in philanthropy through voluntary associations like gentlemen's clubs. These eventually resulted in the incorporated model of charity we know today, when the British captain Thomas Coram, appalled at how many orphans he was seeing in the streets of London, began the Foundling Hospital in 1741. Now, let's skip forward a bit and also to the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. In America, before the Civil War, charity was much more of an individual activity. This changed with industrialization and the social ills that came with it. These were generally organized by well-off community leaders and helped people that they thought were deserving. We're talking orphans, widows, maybe some disabled people, but only if you had like a really sad story. Very importantly, while these organizations would help a lot of people, and that's an amazing thing to do, their focus was on treating the symptoms of society's problems, but never on the. For instance, they'd help the poor, but never advocate for things like higher wages. Then, in the 1900s, things really took off as the first millionaire robber barons began establishing charity foundations to give back to society while also shielding their money from taxes. Charities were a win-win situation for them. They could kill two birds with one stone-shaped cake, which they would then both have and eat. Sorry if that line didn't make any sense. Yesterday, I woke up and started my day at 11:30 p.m. These foundations would hire a lot of the same people who worked in the early charity movement, but one key difference was that while previous charities would focus on tangibly addressing an issue, these foundations were a lot more general. They'd be less focused on things like volunteering and more into research and policies and spreading awareness. For example, in 1914, massacred by the Colorado militia for going on strike against Colorado Fuel and Iron, a company that proto-Bezos John D. Rockefeller owned 40% of. The Rockefeller Foundation began pushing the narrative that, of course, the plight of the individual worker is tragic, but the solution isn't union, but the life-saving work that the Rockefeller Foundation is doing to alleviate the poverty that the people who work for us find themselves in for no particular reason. At the same time, they work to suppress any investigations reporting on the massacre, claiming that the union was the real cause of the violence, and also sponsored speakers who tell the community things like, "What killing?" and "No, we didn't." Frederick Gates, one of the people running the foundation, said, quote, "The danger is not the combination of capital, it is not equity, it is the labor monopoly. And the danger of the labor monopoly lies in the common force. It's organized into the labor of war on society." I like how he used the completely made-up term labor monopoly for unions, while also referring to an actual monopoly as the combination of capital. You can't.
I'm going out to veg in front of a machine for now. You can. You want to come? You're welcome. Well,
sure.
I just did the count. Tomorrow and Tuesday.
Oh boy, it's TC does something electrical time again. Today,
hang on.
age-old question. Why do US plugs have holes in them?
Why?
That's a great question, and many.
Okay, what?
AJ, Jesse, and Troy. I gotta pay out $28,000.
Wait a sec. What was that?
Consolidate everything and fucking mix it much stuff. Highlights and everything, but the thing is, I have really have to do that. I just wire my name to that.
Let me pee. Let me pee. Okay.
no way these are fucking mine. It's like the biggest mom ass I've ever seen. What the fuck? What the fuck? Okay, are these like pants that are designed for a fucking midget? Hey, first of all, the legs fit, but like the ass one ain't enormous. I'm like, fucking the ass fits in these. Like, I'm like, okay, so maybe those quarter pants, the 3/4 pants, I guess, and they put the mom's stomach. I don't even fucking know. The fuck is like 3 inches from the ass to the crotch, or from the top of the pants to the crotch of the pants. It's like huge. What the fuck happened here? Sorry. Fuck. Okay. Improperly sized fucking pants. I roll a joint. Thick. It's starting to snow? Okay, it's starting to snow. What is it? Oh yeah, right. The cookies. Yeah, I'm coming. Okay.